I'd like to take a moment to again send our thoughts and prayers to my friend and the friend of most of us in this room, Steve Scalise, and his great family as he continues his very brave fight. It's been much more difficult than people even thought at the time. He's in some trouble. He's a great fighter, and he's going to be okay, we hope.
Welcome back to The World Over. That was President Trump speaking about the condition of House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, one of 4 people shot in the attack on Republicans on a baseball diamond in Virginia this week. The gunman, James Hodgkinson of Illinois, seems to have been politically motivated to carry out his horrific attack. My next guest was there, next to Steve Scalise, when the shooting started. Is the heated political rhetoric in D.C. and the incendiary images from around the country to blame for this violence? Joining us to discuss from the Capitol is U.S. Congressman from the state of Alabama, Gary Palmer. Congressman Palmer, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Raymond.
You, Congressman, were 20 yards from my congressman in New Orleans, Steve Scalise. It is amazing that Steve was able to drag himself to cover after being shot. Now, one congressman said he thought the shooter meant to shoot you all at point-blank range in the dugout. Did you have similar thoughts when you saw Hodgkinson approaching with that rifle?
Well, I was at shortstop, and of course Steve was at second base, and Congressman Trent Kelly of Mississippi was at third. And we were taking batting practice. We were in the field, and I heard the shot, and I knew immediately what it was. And I yelled to Trent Kelly that that was a gunshot, and Trent says, yeah, it was. And then he turned and he said, he's got a gun, get out of here. And I think the first shot was probably aimed at Trent, and it is an absolute miracle that he missed him. We were trying to get to cover. 2 more shots rang out, and I saw Steve go down. Wow. And we were seeking cover outside the fence. The shooter was outside the fence, and it's amazing that no one was killed.
It's a miracle. Do you believe, Congressman Palmer, that the hateful rhetoric we've been hearing about President Trump, about policy, Tim Kaine saying we need to fight people in the streets, Madonna threatening to blow up the White House, is all of this cumulatively, do you believe, to blame perhaps those images of severed heads and Kathy Griffin? Did all of that contribute, do you believe, in some way to what you saw unfold firsthand this week?
Well, I think so, to a certain extent. I think you have people who are on the edge anyway, and as I've said many times in the last 24 hours, I think our country, our culture is fraying at the edges, the extremes on both sides, and we're seeing threats, we're seeing innuendos, and I think you're going to see people acting this out. And it's clear that this guy did this intentionally out of a political agenda. He was targeting Republicans. This was our last practice, and it's almost like he waited from March, about the time we started practice, till the last chance that he would have to basically carry out a mass shooting.
Yeah,
because he knew we wouldn't be back there after the game tomorrow.
Yeah, he specifically asked if it was Republicans or Democrats on the field before he opened fire. He asked one of your colleagues who actually was leaving the field at the time. I want to play something for you, Congressman Palmer. This is CNN's Anderson Cooper, the night of the shooting. Cooper introduced a segment this way. I want your reaction.
We're learning more about who the gunman was, his recent movements, and more. We should underscore we're minimizing the use of his picture and his name.
Congressman, why minimize the use of the name of this shooter and the motivations here? Shouldn't they be exploring that, as we've seen in multiple other shootings and terrorist events like this?
Well, I can understand from a certain perspective that some people want to go down in infamy, but I'm not sure that was the case with this individual. I think this individual had a clear political agenda. You could discern that from his Facebook post, from one of the organizations that he was a part of on Facebook. And I don't think he did it for fame. I think he did it as in some twisted way in support of his political agenda. And again, he knew that was going to be our last practice. He had been living out of his van and had just joined the YMCA directly across the street from the ballpark. So he situated himself there.
Yeah. Should Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, have said more? He came out and he issued a call for unity. He said, look, when one of us is struck, we're all struck. But that really isn't the case here. Hodgkinson seemed to have targeted conservatives in this case, Republicans.
Well, I thought Speaker Ryan's comments were excellent, perhaps his best speech to us. And I agree with him that an attack against one is an attack against all. And my whole point is, Raymond, is that we've got to tone down the rhetoric. Both sides do. It's got to come from... I was asked this morning, should it start at the White House? I thought that was an inappropriate question. Every one of us have to take responsibility. It should start with me. I have to be very conscious of not only what I say, but how I say it. And it applies to every one of our colleagues. It applies to all of you in the media and the social media.
Right.
We've got to be conscious of what our neighbors and friends and other people we know say. And when it starts getting extreme, we need to try to help people tone it down.
No, I agree with you. I think people don't appreciate the power of words and certainly the potent power of images. And we have a culture awash in violence, in hatred. I mean, this town, I have to tell you, Congressman, in the last few years, I have seen a ratcheting up of the tensions, the personal animosity in a way that 20 years of covering the Capitol, I've never seen it like this. Tell me what you're hearing from your colleagues, seeing in the district. I hear from congressional friends, they return home and there are chalk lines in their driveway. Their children have been taunted on the way to school, death threats. What are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Well, I've talked to a couple of members who've already gotten death threats. Someone posted yesterday, 1 down and 2:16 to go in reference to the vote on the health care bill. One member of Congress said that, 2 members of Congress actually said their young daughters, one of them 6 months old, had received death threats. This is insane, and we've got to ratchet it down. Back in our home districts, we've got protesters staging die-ins over the health care bill, claiming that we're going to kill thousands of people. Well, if you convince somebody that they're going to die because of a vote we took on the floor, you could see people taking such unhinged extreme action.
Right. Given the violence that we've seen pour out and play out before our eyes, my Congressman, Steve Scalise, just seeing him being pulled away on the stretcher the other day. I mean, this is a man who, I remember him coming to my door years ago, when he was running for office, and have met him, interviewed him here on the show many times. Is it time for members of Congress, Representative, to conceal carry in the district and at home? Would that make you feel safer? I know there's a bill to do just that.
Well, a number of members conceal carry at home. But as far as here on the Capitol, when I'm here or in my office, I've got full confidence in the Capitol Police. And that confidence was magnified many times by what we saw yesterday from Special Agent David Bailey and from Special Agent Crystal Griner.
Right.
Extraordinary courage. I saw Crystal on the ground by her vehicle with a wound to her leg, pull herself back into a position to continue returning fire. These people put their lives on the line for us and saved our lives. So I'm not sure about the Capitol, but I do think that all of us are going to have to rethink how we provide our security for ourselves. And I'm a gun owner. I'm a Second Amendment guy, and I was also asked this morning about. I made the point that we wish we had had a gun. There was 2 or 3 of us that while we were being shot at, we were yelling, "Get us a gun!" I think we could have been of assistance. But I can tell you, if I've got someone shooting at me and I have to choose between defending myself with a baseball glove or a firearm, I'll take the firearm every time.
Right. Well, Congressman, that's what I was talking about. Right now, you can't conceal carry in the District of Columbia, even as a member of Congress. Would you be open and support the bill? I know there is a bill coming forward that I believe a North Carolina representative has put forward that would allow at least members of Congress to conceal carry outside of the Capitol. That's when apparently you're most vulnerable. The Capitol Police protect you when you're in the Capitol.
I definitely support that.
But before I let you go, Congressman Palmer, I know you've been very involved in the tax overhaul, and there are a lot of people awaiting this. When do you think it might happen? Do you foresee this tax reform before the end of this session?
Well, I think it should come before the end of this year. And I'm optimistic that we can get there. We're doing a tremendous amount of work on this. A lot of people coming together, putting ideas on the table, and I believe we can get there.
Okay, Congressman Gary Palmer of Birmingham, thank you so much for being with us, and we are delighted that you are safe and hope you have a great game at National Stadium. And I would urge everyone to keep praying for Congressman Scalise and the others who were injured in this terrible attack. So your prayers are important.